58. The Great Longing.
Zarathustra has just overcome his biggest challenge by creating a new worldview that revolves around the idea of eternal return and arranges all his other ideas in a coherent way around it. With that, he achieved self-surpassing, the most powerful self-surpassing he ever achieved, and now, as a result, he experiences the most powerful joy he ever experienced. The last chapter ended with him lying with his eyes closed, and we were told that he was communing with his soul. In this chapter, we become privy to this communing. What we are witnessing is Zarathustra feeling his soul overflowing with happiness, and rejoicing in what he turned it into.
O my soul, I have taught thee to say today as once on a time and formerly, and to dance thy measure over every here and there and yonder.
With the realization of the eternal return, you embrace the entire ring of time, and are no longer enslaved to the passage of time. You live in the everlasting now, but also realize that it is connected to every moment in the past and the future, and they all become part of you. As you think of past, present, and future, your soul is using them as a dance floor, dancing its happiness.
O my soul, I delivered thee from all by-places. I brushed down from thee dust and spiders and twilight.
His soul has been purified. At least for the moment, it feels completely cleansed. It has no dust, no outdated ways of thinking. It has no spiders trying to impose a rational ideology on all of reality. And it has no twilights, those moments of doubt about earthly life. There's nothing in it that holds it down.
O my soul, I washed the petty shame and the by-place virtue from thee, and persuaded thee to stand naked before the eyes of the sun.
His soul is completely virtuous, driven by its own virtues, not virtues he is told he should have. He has no need to hide anything in shame, but can proudly show it all.
With the storm that is called Spirit did I blow over thy surging sea, all clouds did I blow away from it. I strangled even the strangler called Sin.
With his inner powers, which he forged into spirit, he transformed the contents of his soul, cleansing it of all the harmful ideas that the rotten civilization instilled in it. Especially from what is called sin, that word made to repress the powers of the body and turn the soul against them. In Before Sunrise, he uses clouds as metaphors for impure emotions that have a diminishing effect on your ability to enjoy the beauty of the world. At the moment, all of his emotions feel pure, and his soul is untainted.
O my soul, I gave thee the right to say nay like the storm, and to say yea as the open heavens saith yea. Calm as the light remainest thou, and now walkest through denying storms.
When a soul is so virtuous, it has the power to determine its own rules, to resist anything that tries to force itself upon it, and to fully enjoy anything it affirms. It is completely free and joyous, and trusts its own instincts.
O my soul, I restored to thee liberty over the created and the uncreated, and who knoweth, as thou knowest, the voluptuousness of the future?
The idea of the eternal return makes it clear that in order to be completely connected to life, you have to create. When you create, you take part in forging the ring of time. This realization makes him free to pursue a life of creation. And those who create go beyond themselves and regain the hunger for the future in which they will transcend what they are now and become greater.
O my soul, I taught thee the contempt which doth not come like worm-eating, the great, the loving contempt which loveth most where it contemneth most.
His soul does have contempt, but it is not the kind of contempt that resentful people have, the contempt that comes out of hatred of earthly life. His contempt comes out of love of earthly life. He despises all those who turn their back on it, but since they, too, belong to the earth, he doesn't hate them. He wants to help them become happier.
O my soul, I taught thee so to persuade, that thou persuadest even the grounds themselves to thee, like the sun, which persuadeth even the sea to its height.
This metaphor first appeared in Immaculate Perception. His soul is like the sun, burning with its own inner power. Thus, it has a gravitational pull that overcomes gravity. It isn't held down to the earth or the sea, but pulls them towards it. The earth, as we know, is the source of pleasure, while the sea is the chaos of the subconscious. The power of his soul allows him to not be mastered by those things, but to draw them towards him, reshape them to become part of his world, and ride their power to even greater heights.
O my soul, I have taken from thee all obeying and knee-bending and homage-paying. I have myself given thee the names Change of Need and Fate. O my soul, I have given thee new names and gay-coloured playthings. I have called thee Fate, and the Circuit of Circuits, and the Navel String of Time, and the Azure Bell.
Liberated from any masters, he can define himself, and he gives new names to his soul. He calls it Fate, since it is the role he was destined to play, the fate he must learn to love. Change of Need, since it liberated itself through changing its needs. The Navel String of Time, since it takes part in the shaping of the Ring of Time, and thus can be seen as the umbilical cord that feeds it. The Circuit of Circuits, since it becomes one with the Ring of Time, the circuit of all circuits. And the Azure Bell, which is what he called it in Before Sunrise, when he said he is going to present an ideal for people to follow, hover above them like the clear sky, so they can work their way out of the abyss and liberate themselves.
O my soul, to thy domain gave I all wisdom to drink, all new wines, and also all immemorially old strong wines of wisdom.
Previously, Zarathustra told us how one must be prepared to go into filthy waters in order to seek knowledge. Once you've acquired that knowledge, however, those filthy waters turn into sweet wine that you can enjoy. Zarathustra feels that he conquered wisdom, the wisdom that today's world can provide, and also gained the ability to understand the wisdom of the past.
O my soul, every sun shed I upon thee, and every night and every silence and every longing. Then grewest thou up for me as a vine. O my soul, exuberant and heavy dost thou now stand forth, a vine with swelling udders and full clusters of brown golden grapes. Filled and weighted by thy happiness, waiting from superabundance and yet ashamed of thy waiting.
The end result of all the spiritual experimentations, and knowledge-seeking, and trials, and experiences, and triumphs. Your soul grows and grows, and becomes rich and diverse, armed with heuristics that allow it to draw out the good from any situation. When you reach this point, you need nothing else. You enjoy just being yourself.
O my soul, there is nowhere a soul which could be more loving and more comprehensive and more extensive. Where could future and past be closer together than with thee?
All that makes him feel that his soul is more intense, more abundant, and more joyous than any other soul. Every soul is an intersection where past and future exist along with the present, through memories and intentions, but he feels that his soul is even more so, as it understands how they are all bound together.
O my soul, I have given thee everything, and all my hands have become empty by thee. And now sayest thou to me, smiling and full of melancholy, which of us oweth thanks? Doth the giver not owe thanks because the receiver received? Is bestowing not a necessity? Is receiving not pitying?
The conversation here seems to be between the mind and the soul. The mind is centered in the head, the thoughts that run through it. The soul is the thing that you feel in your breast, and right now Zarathustra feels that it is overflowing with love and ecstasy. He speaks for the mind, and says to his soul that it was he, with his new ideas and overcoming of intellectual challenges, who made her this happy. He expects gratitude from his soul, but she tells him that it is he who owes gratitude. He was the one who told us that the greatest virtue is the bestowing virtue, and then kept complaining that he had no one to bestow all of his wisdom upon. It turns out, however, that while he was looking for someone, he kept bestowing his soul with new powers. She became the receiver who relieved him of all his courage, and made it all worthwhile.
O my soul, I understand the smiling of thy melancholy. Thine overabundance itself now stretcheth out longing hands. Thy fullness looketh forth over raging seas, and seeketh and waiteth. The longing of over-fullness looketh forth from the smiling heaven of thine eyes.
But now it is his soul that is overflowing and brimming, and wanting to bestow. Thus, along with its happiness, there is a bit of melancholy, for having no one to bestow it upon.
And verily, O my soul, who could see thy smiling and not melt into tears? The angels themselves melt into tears through the over-graciousness of thy smiling. Thy graciousness and over-graciousness is it which will not complain and weep. And yet, O my soul, longeth thy smiling for tears, and thy trembling mouth for sobs. Is not all weeping complaining, and all complaining accusing? Thus speakest thou to thyself, and therefore, O my soul, wilt thou rather smile than pour forth thy grief. Than in gushing tears pour forth all thy grief concerning thy fullness, and concerning the craving of the vine for the vintager and vintage knife.
Like a tree in full bloom, his soul feels that its fruits are heavy, and it longs for someone who would come and enjoy them, come and relieve it from the burden. Since he is all about being powerful, his soul doesn't like to whine. It would rather smile and rejoice in its happiness than talk about its longing for someone to bestow it upon. But under the smile, it is yearning for harvesters and vintagers.
But wilt thou not weep? Wilt thou not weep forth thy purple melancholy? Then wilt thou have to sing, O my soul. Behold, I smile myself who foretell thee this.
Zarathustra tells his soul that if she doesn't want to weep her longing, she can sing her happiness instead. And he makes her a promise.
Thou wilt have to sing with passionate song, until all seas turn calm to hearken unto thy longing. Until over calm longing seas the bark glideth, the golden marvel, around the gold of which all good, bad, and marvellous things frisk. Also many large and small animals, and everything that hath light marvellous feet, so that it can run on violet blue paths. Towards the golden marvel, the spontaneous bark, and its master. He, however, is the vintager who waiteth with the diamond vintage knife.
With the song that is within her, his soul will eventually make everyone listen, and turn the world in a different direction. Her song will bring forth a golden vessel, which contains what every living thing wants the most, and this vessel will glide over the sea of longing, and take the soul towards the vintager she was waiting for. We don't know yet what the golden vessel represents.
Thy great deliverer, O my soul, the nameless one, for whom future songs only will find names, and verily already hath thy breath the fragrance of future songs. Already glowest thou and dreamest, already drinkest thou thirstily at all deep echoing wells of consolation, already reposeth thy melancholy in the bliss of future songs.
The future humans will be the vintagers who will enjoy the fruits of his soul. It's interesting that he no longer calls them the Superman, but says we still don't have a name for them. It shows that, after he rearranged all his ideas around the idea of eternal return, the idea of the Superman becomes fuzzier. He still believes we should aspire to a future ideal, but we don't need a clear image of it. I hope that I've helped you, my dear viewers from Zarathustra's distant future, to enjoy some of these fruits.
O my soul, now have I given thee all, and even my last possession, and all my hands have become empty by thee, that I bade thee sing, behold, that was my last thing to give. That I bade thee sing. Say now, say which of us now oweth thanks. Better still, however, sing unto me. Sing, O my soul, and let me thank thee. Thus spake Zarathustra.
With his command for her to sing, Zarathustra feels that, at least for the moment, he poured all of his ideas into his soul, to the last one, and made it as powerful and happy as it can be. Of course, he is the main beneficiary, not just because he found a place to bestow everything upon, but also because the happiness of his soul is his own happiness. He is the one who enjoys her song most of all. His soul gushes in dithyrambic ecstasy, feeling pure, light and overflowing, and providing him with the inspiration for everything he said in this chapter. In all of literature, I dare you to find such a vivid expression of bliss. In such a state, one does not need any external riches. The ecstasy of the soul is enough.